a great Tuesday on NASCAR Race Hub. I'm Shannon Spake, Adam Alexander. How many days left to the Daytona 500?
12 days till the Daytona 500.
Days. You've been following Larry McReynolds on Twitter.
Oh, how can you not? You know what I'm focused on? The number 2.
I don't get it.
Day 2 of NASCAR Race Hub in 2019.
It takes me a second from time to time.
Let's get it going with a daily fuel. So we're just a couple of weeks away, less than 2 weeks away from the Daytona 500. The qualifying, you know, it happens Sunday on Fox at noon. You want to be there for that as we set the front row for the Great American Race. And then at 3 o'clock, you go over to FS1. It's the 75-lap Advanced Auto Parts Clash, the season's first exhibition race. The anticipation amazing right now.
Oh, boy, it's getting closer. And Adam, in case anyone missed it, yesterday NASCAR announced qualifying and post-race inspection procedures for the 2019 season. So here's how it's going to go. Qualifying is going to remain the same. Single car at Daytona and Talladega. Group qualifying everywhere else. But do not forget that the new aero rules will certainly change the way group qualifying looks and how teams approach their sessions. Now, as far as post-race inspection, and this is the big one, if a car fails at the track post-race with a major violation, the car is going to be disqualified. The win, the points, the trophy, give it back, because NASCAR is going to take it and award it to the next legal team in the finishing order. Woo! All right, we're certainly going to be following that all season. Hi, everyone. Welcome in. Regan Smith, Austin Dillon. We are talking all Chevy today, so who better to have here than a Chevy driver, right?
I like it. Let's talk about it.
True blue Chevrolet driver is Austin Dillon.
Yeah, I've been a Chevy guy since I was born, so I had no choice.
There you go. Perfect to have you here. And I do want to talk about what came down yesterday, specifically the post-race inspection, because I think most will agree that it's a move in the right direction, but I think we also realize that it could open this up for more issues, right? What if your driver wins and then a couple hours later you find out that he didn't win? There's going to be some upset fans.
Oh, there'll be some upset fans, but it's not happening later in the week. It's happening that night. So you can go to sleep knowing that your driver won or lost. And second and third place, they matter now. We all grew up racing short tracks, and you found out that day if you were going to make it. When you super late model dirt race, when you go across the scales and you weigh in and you pass right there, you know if you've won or lost. That's as simple as that. So I think it's good that we're doing this and we're moving to this. We all grew up racing like this.
Yeah, and you hit on something big there that I haven't heard anybody else say yet. Second and third do matter, and we could see some battles now. Maybe the guy in fourth place moves that third place guy out of line, or vice versa. The guy in second gets moved by the third place guy. There could be a lot of different things that take place, and that's because maybe they think the guy out front is illegal and is going to be DQ'd after the race. You never know. So there's a lot of things that are going to change and are going to evolve with this, and we're going to learn as time goes on what the format's going to look like in terms of the post-race tack and everything like that. But I am all for this. I hated when we would get these penalties on a Wednesday. We'd say the car was illegal, but we're still giving them the win. We're taking the points. We're taking all this other stuff. I was not a fan of doing that. I like how this system's going to be.
Yeah. Austin, I would say most in the NASCAR world also believe pre-race is going to be more challenging for teams now so that we don't put ourselves in this circumstance when the race is over.
NASCAR has definitely put an emphasis on, we want to make sure that the cars are legal before the race starts. So that's what the biggest thing. And if something big happens and they find it after the race, that's when you're going to get tossed.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things, right, where some people say, why don't we just do pre-race inspection and not post-race inspection? So certainly that will be an area that they have to get right. Qualifying is another thing that came down yesterday. Were you guys surprised with the new aero package that they didn't make a change to the qualifying?
I was happy about it. Listen, I've got my TV hat on, and I know what we watch when we're doing the qualifying shows. It is going to look so much better to have these guys out there. Are they going to go out and try to do a single car run? Are they going to go out and try to draft in a pack of 4 or 5 cars and get that big run that we've seen before? I like the fact that it's staying the same. Now, ask me that after 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know if I'll agree, but right now I like it.
Yeah, that was the one thing I'm the most nervous about, is how group qualifying going to go, because we kind of have tried it in the past, and it didn't work out the way we want it to. People are going to try and figure out ways to make lap time, which is great. But waiting the clock out, the waiting game, that's frustrating as a driver. You just want to go out there and run a lap and hope it's a good one. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how it goes and see what NASCAR makes changes around.
What about the guy that goes out and gets that lap up right away, though? Everybody else waits. They miss the start-finish line. They don't get to log a lap, and all of a sudden now somebody could have gone out first thing, and they could be in the top 10, top 12, whatever it might be.
I'm just curious if the testing we saw in Las Vegas is a little bit of a preview of what we're going to see on pole day? And if so, set the DVR for qualifying in the coming weeks at these intermediates.
This test was a lot of fun. I love that how we all were, as a group, collaborated to get out there and draft. We were running some tight battles. There was 2 and 3 wide out there a lot of the times. I love the package. You know, you heard some different things from different guys out there. Kyle Busch, I don't know what he was thinking saying that stuff.
I'm glad you said it. We didn't have to.
He's going to say what he's going to say. I don't think he's liked a lot of the package. Heck, he won the first time they made the car of tomorrow and said he hated it. It's just part of it. But I enjoyed it. There was a lot of tight racing. Regan and I both talked about how the leader couldn't gap the other cars. So that's what's important. We want to see tight racing and big moves made.
And it's going to make qualifying a lot more exciting for, like you said, Regan, the folks who are watching it on TV. So one thing is for sure, 2019 is a year of change. Many of us are going to be asking, who's in that car again? For at least the first few weeks. To get you caught up on some of the changes, here's Michael Waltrip.
If you thought 2018 had a lot of changes, and change is good in my opinion, well, you just better pull those belts tight because 2019 is about to get wild. Hendrick Motorsports won't see any driver changes in 2019. However, breaking news, Chad Knaus moves over to the 24 car with William Byron. This is huge. While Jimmy Johnson will be working with Elliott Sadler's former Xfinity crew chief, Kevin Mindering. At Joe Gibbs Racing, Martin Truex Jr. and Cole Pern take over number 19 following the closure of Furniture Row Racing. And on the 11 car, crew chief Chris Gabehart will be paired with Denny Hamlin, replacing Mike Wheeler, who moves over to the 95 car with Matt DiBenedetto. Stewart Haas Racing sees one major change in 2019 as Daniel Suarez makes the move from JGR into the number 41, replacing Kurt Busch. Busch finds a new home at Chip Ganassi Racing in the 1 car, while his former driver, Jamie McMurray, joins our team here at Fox Sports. Welcome, Jamie. Richard Childress Racing moves Daniel Hemrick up from the Xfinity Series to run for Rookie of the Year in the 8 car, which used to be the 31. We all knew that. And Austin Dillon will be paired with crew chief Danny Stockman, who led Dillon to his Xfinity and Truck Series championships. Roush Fenway Racing has a major shakeup with the number 6, as Ryan Newman moves from RCR and will partner with Scott Graves, who moves from JGR. The Ford contingent as a whole will run the new Mustang body in place of the old Fusion, while every team in the field will have to game plan for NASCAR's new engine and aero rules. You got all that? Well, good, because I'm out of breath.
So are we, Mikey. And of course, he covered all of the changes in NASCAR, or some of them, but we're specifically talking about Chevy. And you guys have a ton of changes. We know that this sport is all about chemistry, all about consistency. So how do those changes across the board and within your own organization affect things until things kind of settle down?
Oh, I think chemistry is very key in this sport. I've been able to work with a lot of different crew chiefs over time, and there's one guy that I've always thought about, and I finally got him back, and it's Danny Stockman. So I'm really pumped about the direction that we've made. Daniel Hemrick is moving up, and he's getting to work with Luke Lambert for the first time. I think there's going to be learning period during that point, but those are 2 good guys that are going to figure it out quick. So from our organization at RCR, I'm really excited about the changes, and it's really brought a breath of fresh air into our group.
I think we can all agree the biggest addition when it comes to Chevrolet is Kurt Busch, who was in the round of 8 last year, of course, won a championship in 2004, coming over and joining Kyle Larson at Chip Ganassi Racing. What are your thoughts on that situation, Regan?
Well, I think that's a strong move for Chip Ganassi Racing. I think he's going to help elevate that program. Anytime you have a past champion and you bring him in, he's going to bring something to the table to help the company learn, to help the company get better. We've seen him at Furniture Row Racing come in and really elevated their program. We've seen him do the same thing at Stewart Haas with that 41 car when he started driving that as well. So he's going to be good. The bigger piece to that whole puzzle is the fact that they brought Jeff Curtis in from the 78. I think that's going to really help them out. He was very strong on the simulation and all the engineering tools that we use now. So that's going to be something that's maybe off the radar just a little bit that's going to be important.
Yeah, that's something that we really haven't talked about, right, is the 78. It was disintegrated, right? So those parts and pieces of that very successful team were picked up. We talk a lot about the crew chief, the car chief, the driver, but Jazzy, as you just mentioned, how big is that?
That was really key that you knew his full name. Everybody calls him Jazzy.
I had to look that up. I promise you I had to look it up.
I think it's the only one that does that.
I've worked with Jazzy for a long time now. You know, he was a hot commodity when the 78 was split, and a lot of people were after him. Ganassi got a great great find in him, and I think he can definitely help their organization moving forward. But Kurt Busch, I think, is a real key part to this. He's going to be good in this aero package. He looked great out in Vegas. He's an aggressive driver. He's going to not be afraid to stick that one car wherever he needs to.
You know what I'm excited for? The rookie class in 2019, and in particular the two from Chevy. Your new teammate, Daniel Hemrick, who moves up from the Xfinity Series, and Ryan Preece, who will drive the 47. What's the baseline for this duo in the season ahead?
Well, I think they both can have successful years when you look at the companies they're with and the fact that both those companies are getting better. They're trying to elevate their programs. It's going to be a battle for those guys as to who's going to get it and who's going to run better. When I look at it on paper, I say probably Hemrick has a little bit more of an opportunity for success right away because of RCR, how long they've been around, the notebook that they have, the history that they have. But that's not to take anything away from Ryan Preece. We've seen what he's done in those Gibbs cars in the Xfinity Series. He's so fast, so strong. He is a blue-collar driver, very fast on the short tracks.
Both drivers are strong. I think they're going to be really impressive at some of these mile-and-a-halves. I think this aero package helps this rookie team to go out there and be competitive right off. What I'm looking forward to seeing is what they do at the short tracks. When we add all that horsepower back, that's going to decide the rookie race, in my opinion, who can compete the best at the other places that we go to.
And you're the old man over at RCR now, huh?
The old man.
I got called the senior driver today at our
This is
kickoff
your
luncheon.
6th year.
Oh, they're going to start calling
Wow.
you Pop-Pop, right? Okay, still to come, we're going behind the scenes with Austin as he prepares to defend his title as a Daytona 500 champion. Thanks for letting us tag along on that one. It's going to be fun. Plus, Chase Elliott earned his first 3 Cup wins in 2018. Hear what else Chevy accomplished in crunching the numbers. That's all coming up next on NASCAR Race Hub.
Chevy been right up there with the leaders. Chevy's up front. Those are fast cars.
Yeah, baby, yeah! Thank you, thank you, thank you! Hey, Austin, you're the man!
Hi there, welcome back to NASCAR Race Hub. So 2018 is certainly the season that many Chevy camps would like to put in the rear view, and others would like to erase from their memory altogether. But before we do that, let's crunch the numbers one last time. Here's Mike Joy.
Last season, Chevrolet switched to the Camaro body certainly came with its share of growing pain. However, the year did start with a bang as Austin Dillon took home the Harley J. Earl Trophy in the Daytona 500, the 3rd win in the Great American Race for Richard Childress Racing, and their first since Kevin Harvick in 2007. Later in the season, Chase Elliott finally scored his long-awaited first Monster Energy Cup Series win, then added 2 more victories in an impressive 11-race stretch. Unfortunately for the Bowtie brand, those were their only 4 wins of 2018. The first time since 1982 that Chevrolet scored fewer than 5 wins in a season, and just the 3rd time it happened in NASCAR's modern era. The learning curve with the new body also meant that Chevy trailed the other manufacturers with just 10 stage wins, 37 top 5s, 1,454 laps led, and 5 poles. A bright spot for the group was the 104 top 10s they scored throughout the season, placing them 2nd behind Ford, yet ahead of Toyota. On a positive note, Chevrolet had 14 different drivers score top 10s, the most of any of the 3 makes. Chase Elliott's 21 led the way, followed closely by Kyle Larson's 19. When it came playoff time, Chevrolet put 5 drivers in: Elliott, Larson, Dillon, Jimmy Johnson, and Alex Bowman. However, Elliott was the only driver to advance to the round of 8, but was eliminated in Phoenix. With a year of experience with the Camaro under their belts, the question remains, will Chevrolet be on the upswing in 2019?
All right, so Austin was like this for most of it, except for the beginning,
man.
of course, winning the Daytona 500. No, listen, I know that Chevy improved drastically from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. So if you guys started 2019 exactly where you left off in 2018, where would your confidence level be?
Well, I mean, it would be confident, but I feel like with everything that's changed in the offseason, you better bring the heat at the beginning of this year. You can't get better throughout. You got to be ready when this whole thing starts. And I feel like we did head in the right direction, but a lot has changed since 2018. It's a whole new world. You know, obviously Daytona's the same, but after that, we've changed everything. So hopefully we did our work in the offseason, and the Camaro ZL1 will take home a lot of victories this year.
A fresh start will be a good thing for everyone in the Chevy camp as we go into 2019. Mike Joy talked about the numbers, which certainly were disappointing. Cover your eyes here, Austin. The 4 victories.
He likes the one victory.
That's the least they've had since back in 1982. You look at the top 5, same number dating back to 1982. And the worst they've been in polls, 5 of those a year ago. That's the least since back in 1991. They haven't been to the Final Four in the last 2 years. So who can make it to the Championship 4, or will there even be a Chevy driver when we get to South Florida at the end of the year?
Ooh, you're putting me on the spot. I was a Chevy guy most of my career, too. Let me point that out as I get ready to say this. I think there's 2 or 3 guys that could have the potential to make it there, and we're going to have to see how this car comes out of the gate this year with this set of rules. It's going to be aero-wise. But you can't look at a guy like Jimmy Johnson and think he's going to continue to have bad years. Chase Elliott, he's been knocking on the door of getting himself to that Final Four the past 2 years, really. And Kyle Larson, let's face it, if he ever does make it to Homestead, everybody's in trouble because he's so good at that racetrack. I think any one of those 3 guys could definitely do it, or Austin. I mean, there's a number of guys that if this car meets up with this new set of rules could really make it there.
Yeah, I'm pumped. You know, this year with the new set of rules, I think it changes the game. If we carry the speed we left the Vegas test with, I thought a lot of the Chevys were fast in it. I'm excited, and I feel like you're going to see a Chevy in the Final Four when it comes down to Homestead.
Bold prediction. Bold prediction.
It's a law of averages. At some point, they've got to get one back there.
That's right. Okay, so last year we saw a handful of veteran drivers who did not make it to victory lane. 2 of those were from the Chevy camp, of course, Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Larson. Listen, when people do well, the ship rises, and when people don't do well, the ship goes the opposite way. How much did you feel this throughout the Chevy camp? A guy like Jimmy and a guy like Kyle not having success?
Well, you know, you kind of can at least set your goals and be realistic about it. When a guy like Jimmy Johnson has so many championships and wins, and he's not getting a victory lane, you know the program at Chevrolet is not where it needed to be. So we had to go to work. And then by the end of the season, you see a guy like Chase Elliott start knocking off some wins. You see guys getting top 10s and top 5s that we weren't getting earlier in the season. So we did a good job of turning the ship in the right direction. This year we got to lead with our ship.
You know, to me, I definitely think that as that ship got turned around and we saw the guys start getting more confidence in their race cars, that's what we can expect this year out of that Chevy camp. It's not going to start off the way it did last year. That OSS threw all the Chevy teams for a big curve.
And you speak about Kyle Larson. He talked about how happy he was with his car throughout the year. He wasn't worried about the speed. They just didn't get those victories that they felt like they should have. And then he was one of the guys that you didn't see at the end of the year when other Chevy teams came on strong. So finding that is key.
Larson's last win, regular season finale, 2017. It has been a while. When the hub continues, Alan Cavada is with the driver that carried the flag for Chevy in 2018. Chase Elliott talks about his expectations for the season ahead. And later, Shannon sits down with our driver panel to discuss all things Chevrolet. How are drivers prepping for 2019? Welcome back to this Tuesday edition of NASCAR Race Up. It's day 2 of 2019 for us. And it's time for round 3 of our drivers meeting. Shannon hanging with the fellas. And today the discussion all about the bow tie.
What a day it's been talking all about Chevy, and the guys are back to open the discussion, talking to drivers, a lot of whom have actually driven or currently are driving for Chevy. Regan Smith, Jamie McMurray, Brad Keselowski, Austin Dillon, Jeff Gordon, and Joey Logano. Austin, we're going to start with you. You're going to unload in Daytona, not only in a Chevy, but as the defending winner of the Daytona 500. That was just one of 4 races won by the Chevy camp last season. How do you think you guys are going to benefit this year from having the new car last year for a second season?
Well, you're not going to keep a manufacturer like Chevrolet down long. I mean, their history of winning is easy. It speaks for itself. So for this year, I think we're all pumped up. Togetherness is more. I think Hendrick, RCR, Ganassi, everybody's working together harder than they have in the past. And you saw it at the end of the year. You saw Chase get those 2 wins near the end of the year, show speed. And this package could help us out more than what it did last year.
What do you think when you guys unload there?
Well, they're highly motivated. right?
Oh, yes.
Because they got off to such a poor start last year. Minus
Well, it's a
Daytona
good start,
500.
yeah.
But when you got to the downforce tracks. But I think that they've had to look at the landscape of the sport and how Toyota has focused on engineering and aerodynamics and the way that their teams work together, as well as Ford. You know, Ford really stepped up. And I think now you see Chevrolet, they came out with this new Camaro. They were all excited, and it just didn't live up to the expectations. But you started to see this shift about halfway through the season towards the end. They started getting more competitive. We saw Chase Elliott win at Dover, at Kansas, you know, some of those downforce tracks. So I agree. I think Brad said, you know, I think they're going to be off to a much stronger start here in 2019 than they were.
And, you know, Jamie, it was your teammate last year that kind of threw off the whole curve, right? Kyle Larson, because he was the one that was good everywhere. How did you see the improvement through the season, and where do you think they'll start this year?
Well, Daytona is going to be a little bit unique because we're still going to have the same rules that we had last year just for speed weeks. But, I mean, Chase Elliott was also the outlier. He ran so good at the end of the year in the Chevrolet. You know, the odd part to me about last year was that in all of the testing that we did, we were like the best car, I felt like. So maybe Brad was sandbagging at some of those tests.
Is that what you were doing, Brad?
Was I at a test? I don't remember.
But, you know, Chevy was really good at all the tests, and then we went to the track, and we just weren't as good as we expected to be. Clearly, the 42 was the best car at the beginning of the year. Chase Elliott was probably the best Chevy at the end of the year. The fact that they have a year under their belt, I think it's interesting, like what Austin's saying about, you know, RCR, Ganassi, Hendrick all working closer together. Toyota kind of set the example for that and how successful it can be. Ford has been doing that. Chevy is now doing it, and they're all trying to do it better than the other. And I think that that's going to really show this year.
I want you guys to take me in the mind of a driver, okay? We're going to talk about Jimmy a lot this season, and we're going to talk about Jimmy even more if he doesn't get to victory lane very soon. Does he have more to prove to everybody else, or does he have more to prove to himself?
Yes.
Both. Both.
I think it's both.
Open it up.
When you make a change after you've been with a crew chief your whole career, that's such a long time, and now you got to build this new relationship, right? I mean, these driver and crew chief relationships, it's a marriage of some sort that you really have to know each other. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to kind of, you know, ask those hard questions to each other, and be able to get through those tough times. And you're going to have an argument here and there, and they're healthy. But understanding how to do that and how to recover after something like that, and going through those growing pains, that's something that can take a year, you know, to really figure out each other.
And I think one of the things that I would add into the Jimmy-Chad conversation is Jimmy's making this move, you know, let's face it, towards the final years of his career. There's no doubt about that. It reminds me a lot of like a Peyton Manning leaving the Colts and going to the Broncos. It's that same kind of feel. And who's going to be better? The Colts or the Broncos? So now it's who's going to be better, the 48 car or the 24? I think it's a big question, and it's going to be a great storyline all year.
It's absolutely something that we're going to be watching all season long, especially when they unload. It's going to be fascinating. Plus, I want to see how many times Chad Knaus walks over to that 48 hauler when we get to the garage. Austin, which Chevy driver wins the most races in 2019?
I got to bet on the 3 car a little bit here. You know, wouldn't be in the NASCAR Cup Series if I didn't want to win every race. But you know, Hendrick Motorsports has obviously led the Chevy camp for a while now. We're working hard. I'm really pumped about having a new teammate over at our spot with Daniel Hemrick. Yeah, I think he brings a lot to us. But you know, they've got a bigger organization right now as far as teams go. But as long as we're winning races at Chevrolet, I think we'll all be happy.
I look at Kyle Larson, and as
he's
I
breaking through.
The young guy stepping up, and he had a bad year, an off year, not a bad year, but an off year last year. Well, we just got done talking about Ganassi, and there have been some changes behind the scenes there other than just Kurt coming in as a driver. They picked up an engineer from the 78 car who was a very pivotal point, or a very key point of that race team running the way that they did. I think he's going to really help them develop a lot better this season. I think Kyle Larson hit some home runs this year.
Yeah, I mean, so we all know the pressure starts to build. It doesn't matter how talented you are, how much potential you have. Does he have to win this year?
Well, here's what I'll say about Kyle. Kyle is very confident, and to me, that is one of the things when he came to the Cup Series that helped him, and it's one of the things that I don't feel like gets discussed a lot. Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, going and running the Chili Bowl and a lot of the other sprint car midget races, they get to go win a lot, and so it doesn't matter where you're winning at. If you're winning, you're winning. And so for those guys, when they're not running on the regular NASCAR races, and they're away from that, they're winning, and I feel like that helps helps build confidence.
Absolutely.
Kyle's never lacked confidence. I can see him have an amazing year. I think it's either he or Chase Elliott, just because they've been the two most successful Chevy drivers last year. So, yeah, it could clearly be one of those two.
Yeah, Jamie, I don't know how you can have this conversation without talking about Chase Elliott. I mean, he won 3 races towards the back half of the season. That's a pretty good year in itself, but he won them in one of the most critical parts of the season, in the playoffs. I think he won Dover and Kansas in the playoffs. And really, he entered that third part of the playoffs, and I almost thought he was the favorite to win it at that time. So I would definitely not count out Chase Elliott.
Yeah, I don't think Alan Gustafson gets enough credit.
The chemistry's there, right?
Listen, he won with Kyle Busch. He won with Mark Martin. He won with me. That's really saying something late in my career. But no, this guy is one of the best in the garage area. Chase Elliott, this kid was groomed to be, you know, where he is today. A very strong combination in 2019.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Chase Elliott and what he's been able to do at the end of last year is one thing, but when I look at this new aero rules, when I look at the way he speedway races, in the way this new rules is going to make you more of a speedway racer, he's aggressive, he makes big moves, he leads a lot of laps. I feel like he should have a few super speedway wins under his belt at this point, but I do think that is a strength of his, and we'll have more of that. And I think the aggressive driver is going to be rewarded. I think that person will crash a lot too, but I do think there'll be a lot more reward too on the other side of it.
Aggressiveness.
Yeah,
I like it.
I don't know anything about that.
Thank you guys for being here, talking all about Chevy, talking about Chase Elliott. We are actually going to catch up with him a little bit later in the show. NASCAR Race Hub will be right back.
Here we are once again. It's a Tuesday on NASCAR Race Hub. Thanks for joining us. Can you name the 3 drivers who recorded multiple wins in the playoffs last season? The champ, Joey Logano, no surprise. Kyle Busch, of course, he's good everywhere. The third, Chase Elliott. So how does that success late in the campaign translate to this year? Here's Alan Cavana.
Adam, a career year for Chase Elliott as we look toward 2019. Career year last year, what kind of expectation does that bring? You won 3 races. You got to have more now.
Yeah, I hope so. Had a great, I guess, second half all the way until the very end. So, yeah, I look forward to 19 and just trying to win some more races and try to do it regularly. I mean, I think that's the big thing.
How do you do that? I mean, in terms of, is there anything you need to improve on, you felt you looked back on and say, I have to improve on this as the driver?
I think you got to improve everywhere. I mean, you can never regress. If you're regressing, you're falling behind, and if you're not getting any better, you're probably falling behind too. So I'm not going to re-rack and just do everything different, but definitely want to try to improve in certain areas and really in all areas. So we'll see and try to put ourselves in as best spot as we can to win races, and hopefully we find ourselves there more than not.
You're officially the most popular driver in NASCAR. You've got that award. What kind of responsibility does that come with, being the face of the sport like that?
Well, I just appreciate the votes, you know. Not why, you know, sometimes I'm not sure why people vote for me, but definitely, you know, appreciate that support. And you see it at the racetrack, and as I said, you know, during the awards banquet, I mean, the vote is great, and it's a nice honor to have, and the trophy's cool, but, you know, seeing the fire and the, you know, the hats and the cheers and things at the racetrack, I mean, those are the things that really go further with me than any trophy or sticker or anything you could get. So, you know, that will forever be the coolest part about it.
You know what you're capable of, you and your team. Want to make any predictions for 2019?
Nope.
No? All right. Well, he had 3 wins last year. Let's give him 4 and a spot in the championship for Adam. Why not?
Alan Cavana going bold prediction with driver number 9. But he pointed it out there. 2018 was a career season for Chase Elliott. Where did you see him grow a year ago?
Finishing. I think finishing off the races that he was supposed to win. I thought it was so impressive what he did at Watkins Glen, the road course race. That was my impressive moment for Chase Elliott. That was a nice win.
He almost didn't finish that one.
Yeah.
Turn 1, it got a little hairy for a minute.
But he did it. So when you accomplish it and you go to victory lane, it makes everything just feel better. And he was able to go off and win 2 more races, and that's impressive. You know, I think that he's grown up fast, and he's done a good job of it. So I thought Chase did a great job last year.
Yeah, it's hard to believe last year at this time we were saying, when is it going to happen for Chase Elliott? But now you look at what he's been able to do, the victories, the fact that he's with Alan Gustafson again. Do you think, yes or no, that Chase Elliott is the top driver in the Chevy camp right now in terms of all of that going on?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, he has taken over the reins of that company and said, I am the leader here. Jimmy Johnson, yes, Jimmy is the champion. He's got all the accolades to go along with that. But at the end of the day, Chase Elliott has come in there and he said, okay, the rest of the young guys, they're going to have to learn from me for a long time. Alan Gustafson and him have a great mutual respect for each other. You don't hear him barking on the radio at him like many drivers do. You don't hear those guys ever having any head-butting moments. So I think he's taken over the reins of that company, and he's going to be there for a long time to come.
He mentioned head-butting moments. We are actually going behind the scenes with you.
Yes.
Before you go to the Daytona 500, any head-butting moments for you guys?
No, it's all positive when you talk about Daytona this year. So we've had fun. I got to hang out with my friends and family on here. You'll enjoy it. I've had a blast so far. You guys following me.
That is so cool. So here's the debut of our 5-part series, Defending Daytona, sponsored by Advent Health.
Here comes Austin Dillon.
Off of turn number 4.
It's a race that people dream of. I've dreamed of it.
He's going to win the Daytona 500.
I just couldn't ever really think that I was going to be a Daytona 500 champion. Then it happens.
There's the winner right there, Austin Dillon. Get out and wave at the crowd.
The 3's back in victory lane, baby. Leading up to Daytona to defend our title, I'm going to put it all out on the line. Ready to do some yoga?
Yeah.
Whitney's an angel, man. It was such a good thing when she moved into my life because it opened me up to a lot of different things. She's just fun to be around.
Babe!
Come on, babe, I got you.
I think what makes me and Austin click so well is that he is like balls to the wall. He's just always going and going. And I kind of bring him back a little.
That's impressive. I'm touching my toes.
Ooh-wee.
Cramp.
Babe.
It cramped.
I am his #1 cheerleader, and I just try to be his rock.
Where's the pick? We need the good IG pick. During the off season, we got in one good trip this year. We went to Costa Rica. That was a blast. Our buddies, Mariel and Paul, got married this year. We stayed busy and have fun with it. We always are doing something. What was y'all's favorite thing on the honeymoon?
The horseback riding was so crazy. Like,
You look like your horse was hurting.
so cool.
He was a little too tight for me, I guess.
I don't know if you were riding the horse or the horse was riding you.
I'm the star now. Huh, Austin? Hey, I'm the star now, buddy.
We have been friends with Paul and Mariel for about 7 years. You meet some people in life and they instantly become family, and that's just how they were.
Were there bats in that cave?
No, we didn't see one.
Yeah, we did. That's a film.
What
We saw mooses.
They have monkeys.
Wait.
It's not a moose, is it?
There's no moose in the Dominican Republic.
The last time anyone in the Cup Series won back-to-back Daytona 500s, Sterling Marlin in 94 and 95.
Once again, when we talk about Austin Dillon, I think he comes into this thing under pressure.
Dillon can win the 500 in back-to-back years. Some folks would argue that last year was even a fluke.
You do hope that you can convince the haters one day. If you don't like me or you do like me, you know I'm giving it my all every time I go out on the track. It's like, this guy's not gonna go away. He's a gnat. When it comes down to it, that 3 car is gonna have a shot in the 2019 Daytona 500.
Gnats and mooses. There was a lot. Is it mooses or just moose?
Meese?
Meese?
I was thinking the same thing.
Oh my gosh.
I know one thing. There's no moose.
They're
in the
ocean
Dominican
moose.
Republic.
It's ocean moose in the Dominican Republic.
Thank you, though, for the behind-the-scenes look, because that is something we don't do enough of in this sport, is get to capture you guys away from the racetrack.
I'm sure I'll catch it for the yoga moves. I'm sure they're like, man, you never saw Dale Earnhardt doing yoga back in the day, but heck,
We did see Tim Richmond do it in a post here not too long ago.
There you go.
So.
A lot of guys doing yoga.
If I rolled over and my toes touched the ground, you'd never see me upright again. I
even
promise.
had my crew chief out there. Stockman was doing yoga with us. It was entertaining.
And that was just
Coming
part
up
one.
next on NASCAR Race Hub
That
Yoga.
was just part one behind the scenes with Austin. Much more next week right here on NASCAR Race Hub. Coming up, Larry Mack and the guys are back in the crew chief corner. How do they feel Chevy will perform as they head into their second year in the Camaro? Find out. It's after the break. You're watching NASCAR Race Hub on FS1. It's Tuesday, it's Race Hub, and we are live on FS1. Good to have you along for the ride. So, Shannon, who are the absolute smartest people in the NASCAR garage?
Well, the crew chiefs are the absolute smartest self-proclaimed, right? And Larry McReynolds, of course, leads that group. So here is Larry with some of the smartest minds in the NASCAR garage.
Thanks, guys. This is a crew chief corner. We're not worried about what the drivers think. This is about my crew chiefs right here, and I'm with Drew Blickensderfer, crew chief for the number 34 Ford, Michael McDowell, Chad Knaus, crew chief for William Byron, Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, the 24 car. I'm still struggling with that one. Andy Petrie, vice president of competition up at Richard Childress Racing, the Chevrolet camp. So this is about the Chevrolets. You're with Chevrolet. You're with Chevrolet. You were with Chevrolet.
Yeah.
So if I look back last year, 4 wins for the Chevrolet camp. Was it growing pains with the Camaro, the new Camaro? Was it some rule changes? Maybe was it a combination of both?
Go ahead.
I really do think it was a struggle with the car. I mean, we had a new car that came online when the OSS came online, right? So we weren't able to take our old cars, put them through the new inspection system, see if they pass, see what you got to do. We had to build all new ones, and we had to build them to what, a new standard, and all these things I think really hurt us to get going and get going as quick as some of the Fords did with the new inspection system. But we caught up. I felt like the Chevys by the end of the year were starting to get almost on par with the Fords and Toyotas.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that statement. We as a company, and I can only speak for Hendrick Motorsports,
Sure.
we took on a big chunk at the end of 2017 going into 2018 when we took our 2 separate shops and made them kind of one entity. So we put everybody in a big pile and said, okay, we're going to take these brake guys and combine them, and everybody's going to do the brakes the same, and these fabricators are all going to kind of work together. So we really had about 200 people that were really kind of in a state of flux for a long period of time. Well, then you throw in the roster changes, the pit crew changes, a new car and a new inspection system. We just had a whole lot on our plate. And I agree with Andy 100%. By the end of the season, I think that the Chevrolets were getting better. Just take a look at the 9 car, won 3 races, in the last half of the season. So I think we were getting better, but I still do think we have a bit of a ways to go before we're exactly where we need to be from that camp.
I think the other thing that makes it look worse from the outside looking in is you had 2 companies just dominate the first half of the season. Until Penske got going, it was really just Stewart-Haas and Joe Gibbs Racing. So it was those 2 camps dominating and everybody else looking for scraps. And the Chevrolets were fairly on par with some of the other Ford teams at that time and kind of built with them towards the end of the year. It just didn't get there as quick as maybe like the Penske group did.
Guys, I ask this because I truly do not know the answer to the question. The Chevrolet group is the largest group that a manufacturer has, much larger than Toyota and larger than Ford. The Chevrolet, the teams do a good job of sharing information. Does Chevrolet push on you guys to share information? I know not just internally, but with other Chevrolet teams.
No. We don't. I mean, we really don't work together in my
Is that
opinion.
something you'd like to see more of?
I would. I think it would help us as a group. I think if the Chevrolet guys have more numbers, like you said, we would have maybe a better chance at going at these guys if we worked as one. And it's almost impossible to do, though. I mean, with these organizations the way they are, it's so hard to get everybody to work together.
It's really difficult when you're trying to get 4 teams, for instance, at Hendrick Motorsports, just to work together the way they need to.
Yeah,
right?
That's a big enough challenge.
Right. So as we're getting further down the line, I think you'll see more of that. But it's a big monster. When you've got that many teams trying to get that many differing opinions all on the same page and biting in and believing in it, it's a big challenge.
Yeah, you know, I think I look back at Talladega 1 and coming from a different manufacturer and being with Chevrolet last year, I remember standing by our cars and Chad and Luke Lambert and Greg Zives and myself talking about when we were going to pit as the cars rolled off pit road. And that was us trying to be together as a Chevrolet camp when other manufacturers already had their plan set in place earlier that morning.
They were already
earlier that week, you know. So we were trying to, we were just playing catch up.
Yeah, I once heard a wise man say there's no one smarter than all of us working together. All right, I'm going to put all three of you on the spot, but I want to start with you because you are not in the Chevy camp. What Chevrolet team, what Chevrolet driver wins the most races in 2019?
Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson.
Wow.
Chip Ganassi Racing winless last year.
Kyle Larson.
Chad?
Oh, I didn't study for this question. You know, that's going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be spread. I think it's going to be spread out. I think you're going to have even numbers between guys like Chase Elliott, Jimmy Johnson, hopefully, you know,
How about this Byron kid?
Well, I was about to say, I think the 24 will have an opportunity on the second half of the season. So I can't call a clear-cut winner right now. I really can't. It'd be impossible for me to do that.
Okay, besides Austin Dillon, who's going to win the next amount? No, just kidding.
See, you're even a different role. You've got two guys.
Right, we do, and I feel like the Chevys are going to be stronger with this new package. I think it gives us an opportunity to close that gap that we had last year. Chase Elliott, though, he was the man in 2018. There's no reason to think that he won't carry that forward, and you know, he's at that point in his career that he's ready to be that dominant force. I think that you'll see probably the 9-car win.
It hasn't been too long since he's been in a car very similar to what we're racing on Saturday, very successfully as well. So, you know, he kind of has that feel, just a couple years off.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say I definitely think the Chevrolet camp will have more than 4 wins in 2019.
Let's hope so.
They better, right?
We better.
All right, guys, that's it from Crew Chief Corner.
Tomorrow on the Hub, it's all about the Blue Oval. Ford is on the docket. Brad Keselowski, David Reagan join us in studio. And don't miss a sit-down interview with the champ, Joey Logano. Who did the sit-down interview?
Your co-host.
Oh, Shannon did
It was
that.
a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun talking to him. So time now for our social garage. What have the Chevy drivers been doing this offseason? Take a look. Alex Bowman, not about sun, right? He was in the snow, vacationing with some buddies in Jackson, Wyoming. William Byron also brought in the new year with friends, snowboarding in Park City. That's cool. Kurt Busch and wife Ashley celebrated their anniversary at the Magic Kingdom. Whee! Arms up. And Austin's new teammate Daniel Hemrick seen here getting a little explosive in West Virginia. I saw that strip and was a little nervous. Oh my goodness, what is he blowing up? What is he blowing up?
Oh, I asked him about it. He said it was awesome. A cool experience. You got to blow up a ton of land.
So you wear a cowboy hat a lot of times when you come out to driver intros or whatever. What do you think the chances are we could get Daniel to wear that whatever that helmet was?
That would be safe. You know, we're all about safety.
Let's see if we can
know what a hard hat is.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was a unique hard hat.
He walked up to the driver.
People would call him Bob the Builder.
Oh, there you go. Okay, what were you doing, Austin? We got a little shot of you, and we just mentioned it, that you went and saw some...
I saw the sea turtle, so
no
this
moose
was
out there, right?
One of the guys we were with, he literally dove down in the water and caught that sea turtle and got to hold it. That was fun.
So that wasn't like a planned trip. That was actually out at sea. Someone goes down and gets it straight out of the wildlife.
We were out there on a boat, and the guy jumped in. It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. He also caught a puffer fish. He's like, I'm going to catch a puffer fish. I'm like, how do you do that? Swat at it until it blows up. And he brought it to the water.
Hey, let me just say this.
I missed my calling.
Regan Smith is a true company man. He is always doing whatever it takes. And you may have heard the WWE is coming to Fox in October. With that, here's a glimpse into
there we go.
There it is.
Royal Rumble. Finn Balor, the Balor Club. That's my favorite wrestler. That was a fun night. It wasn't quite as fun as Costa Rica, but it was a fun night.
What is your favorite finishing move?
Oh, I mean, how can you not say the Stunner? Stone Cold. It's got to be the Stone Cold Stunner. That's my guy. I grew up watching him and enjoyed that. So, hey, speaking of finishing moves, last year after the 500, I got a question for you. You went and got some tattoo work done.
Oh yeah.
Would you be going and even in that tattoo up on the other side this year if you get another win in the 500?
Oh yeah, we're going back to the tattoo parlor. We might even do a podcast from that tattoo parlor.
That's the behind the scenes that we need to get.
That's one barn life I don't want to be a part of. Okay, Austin?
it gets personal real quick.
This is the only kind of ink I need in my life right now. You know what I'm saying? Hey, thanks for being here. Good luck this weekend in the Clash. Of course, next weekend in the 500.
Hopefully we learn a lot.
Good luck. We're excited to get action started out there in Daytona. Thank you guys for joining us here. We will see you back here tomorrow as we are talking all Ford all day. Good night, everyone.